Li Qingyue grabbed the niffler in the room, lifted it by its hind legs, turned it upside down, and bounced it hard twice. Immediately, a bunch of shiny things fell down, including coins, lamps, glass beads, and so on. You little rascal, you actually came here to steal things. Let me see if you're male or female. If you're female, then you're fine. But if you're male, then I'm sorry. I'm going to make sure you have a peaceful life. As Li Qingyue was saying this, he grabbed the niffler in his hand, intending to see if it was male or female, when Jill snatched the niffler away. All right, stop bullying it. It's just some worthless stuff. Let him take it if he wants. Sniff seemed to know that the woman in front of her could protect her, so she pounced on her. Look at you. You scared this little guy so much. I was just worried about you. Who told you to scream like that? Li Qingyue said helplessly. All right, I'm too lazy to talk to you. I'll change my clothes. You can go out by yourself, little one. Jill put Niffler down on the ground, but even so, Niffler still picked up the shiny things on the ground and put them into his little bib. Seeing the Sniffler so insistent on getting its things, Li Qingyue was at a loss for words. By the way, what ability did you awaken? Transforming matter, Jill said as she picked up the glass ball from the ground. A little gold appeared on the glass ball, and as she continued to play with it, the gold grew more and more until the entire glass ball turned into a gold ball, a pure gold ball. Wow, with this thing, you'll never have to worry about food and drink for the rest of your life. If there's too much gold, it becomes worthless. Besides, my ability is pretty useless. I can't transform humans or other creatures. I can only transform stones, plants, soil, and so on, Jill said with a regretful expression. Haha, there are no useless abilities. If you use this ability well, it can be very useful in battle. However, your conversion speed needs to be improved. It's too slow right now. The battlefield changes in an instant, and your speed is too slow. I just gained my ability. What's the rush? Jill rolled her eyes at Li Qingyue, then placed Niffler by the door. With a bang, Jill locked the door from the inside, changed her clothes inside, and then came out again. Let's go see the kittens, Li Qingyue said, hugging Jill's slender waist. The two arrived hand in hand at the territory of the cat-like creatures. Simba and Tom were perched high on a tree trunk, looking down at the battle between the cat-like creatures and their kittens. Wow, so cute! Looking at the kittens and raccoon cubs below, constantly waving their cat fists, Jill's eyes instantly turned into hearts as she exclaimed, because they were just too adorable. Upon hearing Jill's voice, Tom and Jerry immediately jumped down from the tree and began to complain, implying that they didn't want to continue being babysitters because it was too tiring. All right, if you don't want to be a babysitter, then don't. Go take a rest and get ready to head to the next otherworld to complete your mission. Li Qingyue patted Tom's head. Jerry, seeing this, ran jealously onto Tom's shoulder, wanting Li Qingyue to pat his head too. Li Qingyue had no choice but to pat his head as well. Simba, keep an eye on them, we're about to set off. Simba stood on the tree trunk and nodded slightly. Then Li Qingyue and the others arrived at the office and notified the others. 5 minutes later, everyone gathered together. Boss, are we ready to go? Constantine asked. Yes, are you busy? Oh no, I just promised Hermione I'd bring her to see this world. But since we're about to set off, let's finish these last 2 otherworldly quests first, Constantine said. All right, I'll go and give Wick some instructions and then we'll set off immediately. Li Qingyue then found Wick and gave him some instructions. Afterward, he returned to the firm, and with a flash of white light, they appeared in an alley in a city. Gaia, figure out where you are. Yes, boss, we've found out. This is Metropolis, and not long ago, a special signal hijacked screens all over the world. It must have been the Kryptonians you mentioned. After all, I can't think of any technology on Earth that could do something like this except for the Kryptonians, Gaia said. All right, now all we need to do is wait for the Kryptonians to arrive, Li Qingyue said as he and the others walked out of the alley. Let's exchange some money first. Jill picked up a stone from the ground, turned it into a gold nugget, and walked toward the gold shop by the roadside. Jill quickly exchanged a wad of cash and handed it to Li Qingyue. Li Qingyue and his group first booked 2 presidential suites, and then distributed the remaining money to the others. They all went to explore the Metropolitan Museum of Art together. By the way, boss, we still don't know how strong our opponent is this time? Walter suddenly asked. They are very powerful. How powerful? Their physical defense, strength, and speed far surpass ours. However, their magic resistance is quite weak. but this is only in comparison to their defense. For us, only Constantine's magic can break through their defenses. Is it that powerful? Yes, but we are not without help. It's just that our helper is a novice and his abilities have not been fully developed. But once he develops his abilities to their peak, his power can at least affect dozens of planets at the same time, and that's not even the limit. Everyone was stunned when they heard that it could affect dozens of planets. To be honest, if I were to unleash my full power, I could drag dozens of planets. But while I could certainly move them, I'm not sure if I could guarantee their integrity. Alright, that person still needs a lot of time to reach his peak, so there's no point in talking about it. Let's find a place to eat something first. Soon the group arrived at a Mexican restaurant. Each ordered their favorite dishes, and then waited for the food to be served. Not long after, the food was served. The group was hungry, so they started eating without saying a word. Even Tom and Jerry were frantically eating the food on their plates when a spaceship descended from the sky and landed in front of a military base. At the entrance of a U.S. military base, a man wearing a blue bodysuit and a red cape walks toward an alien spaceship. Carl L., I am Fiora, General Zod's adjutant. Please come with me. And this human lady, please come with me as well. This is none of her business, the man said, blocking their way. It's all right, I can go with you. Left with no other choice, the man in the bodysuit entered the spaceship with the human woman. As the spaceship took off, the two of them arrived on the Kryptonian spaceship. Upon entering, Fiora placed a Kryptonian-specific mask on the human woman. This mask could simulate Earth's air, allowing her to breathe on the Kryptonian spaceship. Carl L., we've finally met. General Zod, I know you. It seems you have already met your father's artificial intelligence. That's right. In that case, you should know why I'm here, General Zod said calmly. Just as Superman was about to say something, he suddenly felt a ringing in his ears, and then his body went limp and he fell to the ground. The woman saw this and quickly broke free from her restraints to help Superman up. Clark, what's wrong? Fiora. See what's wrong with him? General Zod said. Fiora nodded, then picked up Superman and placed him on the operating table. After a scan, it was discovered that Superman's physical functions were being damaged because he had suddenly arrived in Krypton's environment and was unable to adapt to it. This gave them the opportunity to extract Superman's blood. General Zod glanced at Fiora, who immediately took action, fixing Superman's limbs in place with 4 iron bands. Lock this human woman up. General Zod casually waved his hand, and the human woman was captured by Fiora and taken to a cell. Immediately afterwards, a middle-aged man suddenly appeared beside the human woman. With his help, the human woman converted the air in the spaceship into the air of Earth. In an instant, Superman, who had just felt weak all over, was transformed back into the incomparably powerful being he was. The needle on the robotic arm pierced Superman's arm, but no matter how hard the robotic arm tried, the needle could not pierce his body. In the end, Superman easily broke free of the shackles and smashed the robotic arm with a punch. Then he found the woman who was being held captive and took her away from the Kryptonian warship in a spaceship. After recovering, General Zod, his face grim, commanded, "Immediately activate the planetary terraforming machine and transform Earth into Krypton. Fiora, you combat personnel, capture Kal-El, and force him to reveal the location of the Codex." Yes, Commander. The Kryptonian warship then approached Earth with countless missiles and nuclear bombs fired at it, but to no avail. Humanity could only watch helplessly as the warship drew closer and closer to Earth, eventually hovering over Metropolis. Upon seeing this, Li Qingyue and the others on the ground immediately shouted to Constantine, "Teleport the spaceship to the Sahara Desert. We can't let it destroy Metropolis." Upon hearing this, Constantine immediately put on his slingshot and opened a massive portal, directly transporting the warship to the Sahara Desert. Not only were the people in the Metropolis bewildered, but even the Kryptonians were completely dumbfounded. A perfectly good warship had simply vanished. But they soon discovered that the warship had appeared in the Sahara Desert. But it didn't matter. They activated the planetary terraforming machine again, and a dazzling blue beam of light shot straight from the warship toward Earth. In an instant, the magnetic field around the beam changed, and not only that, but green kryptonite appeared underground. "Boss, I think this is the enemy you were talking about," Walter said, watching the figure fly backward through the air and crash straight into the building. "Constantine, move the battlefield, quickly." Upon seeing this, Constantine immediately opened multiple portals, transferring all the Kryptonians in Metropolis, including Superman, to the Sahara Desert, where there was no one for miles around, so they could fight to their heart's content. "Who are you people?" Superman asked from the air. "We're here to help you, Superman. If we don't teleport you away, Metropolis will be devastated. After all, you know what a disaster it would be if you started fighting," Li Qingyue said from below. "Seize Kal-El." General Zod, tired of their rambling, shouted the order directly. Seeing this, the other Kryptonians immediately rushed towards Superman, and Li Qingyue and his group also attacked the group of Kryptonians. These Kryptonians haven't been exposed to the sun for long enough, so their strength is definitely not as great as Superman's. Li Qingyue and his group can hold their own against them. Moreover, Zod, the most powerful Kryptonian general, has been restrained by Superman. Constantine continued to attack the Kryptonians with magic. Just as Li Qingyue said, these Kryptonians were physically very strong, and physical damage was basically zero, but magic could still hurt them, although it was not very effective. Upon seeing this, Constantine immediately channeled destructive energy, then stretched out his wand and shouted, "Avada Kedavra!" A beam of light, half purple and half green, shot towards one of the Kryptonians. The energy beam, carrying intense killing intent and destruction, struck the Kryptonian, shattering his armor immediately. The Kryptonian then let out a painful howl, his body turning into charred bones as he lay motionless on the ground. Even so, Constantine could still see the heart beating inside the Kryptonian human. Just as he was about to continue, Li Qingyue stopped him. "That's enough. Spare his life, but don't let him regain his fighting ability." "Understood, boss." Although he didn't understand why Li Qingyue was doing this, Constantine didn't ask and simply did as he was told. General Zod, seeing that he had lost a key general, finally became anxious. However, he did not lose his composure. Superman suffered from a lack of combat experience, but he still managed to make up for it with his powerful physique. Humanity has been observing them with satellites, and some countries have even begun to stir. After all, their existence threatens their rule, and for those in high positions, this is absolutely unacceptable. So, secretly, several nuclear missiles were launched at them. However, Li Qingyue and the others were unaware of this, and continued fighting until Gaia's voice rang out. "Boss, the United States, France, and England have launched 6 nuclear missiles, which will arrive in our area in 30 seconds. Upon hearing Gaia's voice, Li Qingyue's face darkened. He punched the Kryptonian away and said, "Gaia, can you deactivate the nuclear bomb's detonator?" Boss, I'm just artificial intelligence. I can't access things that aren't connected to the internet, but I can teach you how to disable it manually." "Connor, did you hear that? Can you stop them?" "Boss, don't worry. Leave it to me." Connor turned to look at the sky, where he split into 5 clones, making a total of 6 Connors standing in place. They mobilized the demonic energy within their bodies, which enveloped Connor's entire body. Instantly, Connor's appearance changed. His skin turned deep red. His eyes became vertical pupils similar to those of a western dragon. A tail grew from his back. His hands transformed into claws, and finally, 2 sharp horns grew from his forehead, with a ball of hellfire burning in the center of the horns. The 6 Connors, transformed into demonic forms, roared as they watched the nuclear bomb hurtling towards them from the sky. They transformed into 6 streaks of red light and collided with the oncoming nuclear bomb. The powerful nuclear bomb was thus caught by Connors and landed on the ground. Then Connor removed the detonation device inside, and now these 6 nuclear bombs have become duds that will not explode. "Give me the portals to the White House, the Han Palace, and the She Palace. I want to return these gifts to them." When the word gift was mentioned, Li Qingyue emphasized it. Constantine had no objection. He first opened the portal to the White House, and Li Qingyue walked in carrying 2 nuclear bombs. Upon seeing Li Qingyue appear out of nowhere, the bodyguards present immediately raised their pistols and aimed them at him. However, when they saw the 2 nuclear bombs in Li Qingyue's hand, they were all too frightened to fire. "This is a gift you gave me, but I don't really like it, so I'm returning it to you. I also want to give you a piece of advice. Don't try to anger me, or you'll face consequences you definitely don't want to see." With that, Li Qingyue threw the 2 nuclear bombs onto the table, then turned and returned to the Sahara Desert. Next was the Han Palace, which followed the same procedure. However, compared to the President of the United States, the Prime Minister of the Han Palace seemed rather timid. If Li Qingyue hadn't left quickly, he probably would have wet himself in fear. Finally, there was the She Palace. But as Li Qingyue stepped through the portal, he said as usual, This is a gift you gave me. But as soon as he finished speaking, he looked around and realized something was wrong. This didn't seem to be the palace, and everyone sitting here was Asian, especially the familiar figure sitting in the high seat. Li Qingyue swallowed hard and said apologetically, Sorry, I've come to the wrong place. The most outrageous thing was that, because he was so nervous, Li Qingyue still spoke Mandarin, which surprised the Asians present. Don't rush, young friend. Since you're here, why not stay and have a cup of tea? The man sitting in the high seat said with a kind smile. Li Qingyue, barely suppressing his nervousness, said, I have some things to take care of here, so I won't have any tea. Also, consider this my apology for going to the wrong place. Gaia, send that person AT-800 manufacturing blueprint. Received, boss. After finishing these tasks, Li Qingyue quickly left. After all, he had only seen that person's face a handful of times in his previous life, and now that he had finally seen him, he still couldn't help but feel nervous, even though he now possessed extraordinary power. Back in the desert, Li Qingyue smacked Constantine on the head in exasperation and yelled, Where did you drive off to? Sorry, boss, it was my mistake. I misunderstood something. I'll open it again for you right away. This time, Li Qingyue was smarter. After confirming that the opposite side was Shigong, he immediately went in and repeated the operation from the previous 2 times. After doing this, Li Qingyue returned to the battlefield, where the battle was now at a stalemate. The Kryptonians' armor had long been shattered, but after a brief period of adaptation, they grew stronger with each battle. Left with no other option, Constantine and Connor had to unleash their full power, which directly caused the Kryptonians to fall to the ground severely injured. But under the sunlight, they gradually recovered. Constantine had no choice but to give each of them an Avada Kedavra to ensure they didn't die while losing their fighting spirit. I won't kill you, but I'll make a bet with you on who will win this battle, your general or Superman. If Superman wins, you will join our agency as unofficial members. If Superman loses, we will no longer interfere in your affairs. Is that okay with you? The Kryptonians remained silent and instead looked at Fiora. After all, Krypton has a strict hierarchy system, which is ingrained in their genes. And among their group, Fiora has the highest level, so they can only look to Fiora. Fiora tried to break free, but was met with another Avada Kedavra attack. Seeing that she still wouldn't behave, Constantine unleashed a crunch, a piercing pain that finally made Fiora scream in agony. 3 seconds. If you don't agree, I will intervene in the fight between the 2 of you. I agree. Fiora had no choice but to agree. Cover the sun, Li Qingyue said to Walter. What nodded, then conjured a canopy out of thin air to cover the Kryptonians and their families, while Jill transformed the canopy into stone as it was completed, ensuring that the sunlight could not penetrate it. All right, now everyone just watch their battle quietly, and tell your planetary terraforming machines to shut down, or I'll destroy them. Fiora reluctantly contacted the Kryptonians on the spaceship and ordered them to shut down the planetary terraforming machine. General Zod was taken aback when he saw this. It was in that moment of hesitation that Superman seized the opportunity, grabbed him, and rushed to the ground, punching him repeatedly on his breathing membrane until he finally shattered it. After being destroyed, General Zod, much like Superman arriving on the Kryptonian spaceship, began to experience adverse reactions. Direct sunlight caused General Zod to gain abilities similar to Superman's, but Superman had taken decades to adapt to these abilities. Stop talking, General Zod roared, because he heard a lot of noise, a chaotic sound that was almost making his head explode. Seeing this, Superman immediately took the opportunity to rush up and wrestle with General Zod. However, under Superman's punches, General Zod gradually adapted to the sudden power. He forced Superman back with one punch and then took off the Kryptonian armor he was wearing. Kryptonian armor is divided into skin suits, which are also known as bodysuits, like the one Superman wears. Skin suits are completely form-fitting, usually black, and have the family crest on the chest, while Superman's blue one is basically a limited edition. Then there's the light armor, the one Superman's father wore before his death. It's similar to Iron Man's armor, requiring modular wearing with the help of machines. Then there's the heavy armor, the armor worn by General Zod, Fiora, and the others when they came to Earth. They wore breathing collars which formed an impenetrable membrane that looked very easy to puncture, but could actually withstand artillery fire head-on. Finally, there's the spacesuit which appeared when Superman was choosing his armor. It's the second one from the right, with 4 searchlights hanging on the chest. It was the most commonly worn armor during the colonial era. General Zod has now removed his heavy armor, revealing only his bodysuit underneath. He then slowly levitates. Superman is somewhat surprised to see that General Zod has learned to fly so quickly. But he said nothing, focusing instead on dealing with General Zod's next battle. Superman and General Zod hovered in the air, staring directly at each other. I was born a warrior. I spent my whole life training my senses. And you? Where do you train? On the farm. General Zod asked Superman. Superman didn't say anything, but charged at General Zod, intending to defeat him before he could fully adapt to the power. Ordinary punches and kicks were ineffective against them, so the two became locked in a stalemate. Under the glare of the yellow sun, they continued to punch and kick like an endless perpetual motion machine. Who do you think will win? Li Qingyue asked Constantine, turning his head to look at her. Before Constantine could answer, Fiora spoke up first. It will definitely be our general. Our general was born a warrior, and he is the commander-in-chief of Kryptonian strategists. In terms of combat alone, no one on Krypton can compare to him. I think Superman has a much better chance of winning. Do you know why? Because Krypton has problems to begin with. How many years has your Earth civilization lasted? Do you know how many years our Kryptonian civilization has lasted? What makes you think there's something wrong with Krypton? Fiora said irritably. All Kryptonians are predetermined for their future professions from the moment they are conceived. The upper class will always be the upper class, and the lower class will always be the lower class. But if you study Earth's history, especially the history of China in the East, you will find that you are wrong. This is because you have completely suppressed the nature and potential of Kryptonians. Superman, on the other hand, is the first naturally reproduced being on Krypton in thousands of years, so his potential is far beyond what you can compare to. Fiora didn't reply. Instead, she raised her hand, and a large number of small beads suddenly appeared on her wrist. These beads combined to form a 3D stereoscopic image. This is a technology from Krypton called liquid geometry, which is often used in multipurpose display technology on Krypton. She quietly scoured the history of the world, focusing on the development history of the 4 ancient civilizations, especially China, which is the only ancient civilization in the world whose known history has never been interrupted. After reading about the history of China, she felt a slight unease. She felt that Krypton's development seemed to have entered a distorted state, but the Kryptonian genes engraved in her genes made this thought gradually disappear. It seems we really were wrong, Fiora whispered. The next second, Fiora let out a painful cry, and the other Kryptonians looked at Li Qingyue and his group warily. Li Qingyue quickly raised his hands to indicate that it was none of their business. Don't get agitated. We didn't lay a hand on it. This has nothing to do with us. Then why is Lieutenant Fiora in such pain? Constantine, can you see anything? The other Kryptonians also looked at Constantine, whose eyes were filled with purple light, but even he could not see through it. Let me see that, Constantine. Could you help me? Walter stepped forward and said. Only then did everyone remember Walter's presence. Constantine placed his hand on Walter's shoulder, and Walter's eyes were instantly filled with purple light as well. Her genes have collapsed. There is a law in your genes that will cause your genes to collapse once this law is violated. Can you save Lieutenant Fiora? The Kryptonian asked anxiously. They were now down to just a few people, and the loss of even one more was an unbearable blow. There's nothing we can do. It involves genetics, and besides, we don't have the conditions to perform the surgery right now. Even if we did, the success rate for this genetic procedure wouldn't be high, Walter said helplessly. Several Kryptonians looked sadly at Fiora on the ground. At this moment, Li Qingyue seemed to have thought of something and quickly pulled Fiora into the sun. As the sunlight shone down, Fiora felt her pain lessen considerably. Will this cure her? I'm not sure. Your bodies get stronger after you Kryptonians are exposed to the sun. If her body is strong enough to be immune to this kind of genetic collapse, she should be able to heal herself. Of course, this is just my guess. Several Kryptonians looked at Fiora on the ground, their eyes filled with worry. Meanwhile, the battle on the other side has once again reached a stalemate because Superman has gradually learned General Zod's moves during his fight with him, and with the help of his super brain, his skills are now almost on par with General Zod's. This forced General Zod to change his style, but with the help of his super brain, learning a different style of combat skills only took Superman a little time. General Zod knew that once Superman learned all his fighting skills, defeat would be inevitable for him. General Zod is going to lose, Li Qingyue said slowly. The Kryptonians looked up at General Zod in the sky and saw that they had grabbed General Zod's hands. The powerful force prevented General Zod from escaping. Helpless, General Zod could only use his newly learned heat vision, but Superman also had heat vision and was more proficient in it. The red and orange heat vision clashed, the intense heat causing even their bodysuits to gradually melt, yet it couldn't harm their bodies. As the two roared, a powerful shockwave forcibly separated them. As Li Qingyue watched the yellow sand rushing towards them, Constantine immediately stepped forward, unleashing a purple breeze that swept forward, obliterating all the sand and shockwaves in its path. This is the wind of Vadum, which can blow away dust, isolate pedestrians, and control objects. Everyone saw two giant craters appear below the spaceship, and then a figure slowly flew up from the craters. It was Superman. His suit was now tattered and torn. His upper body was almost gone, and even his red cape had disappeared. Superman arrived at another giant crater, picked up the unconscious General Zod, and threw him in front of everyone. It seems we won the bet. Now we need to figure out how to settle you down, Li Qingyue said. How will you settle us? We will only obey the orders of General Zod and Lieutenant Fiora. All right, Walter, you and Constantine go to China and borrow some equipment to simulate the light of the red sun. Then create a secret room. I need to have a good talk with General Zod, Li Qingyue said to the two of them. Leave it to us, boss. In the Sahara Desert, a bungalow appeared out of nowhere. And what's even more absurd is that the bungalow was filled with eerie red lights. In the room, a group of people sat across a table, including General Zod, who had lost to Superman, Li Qingyue, and the representatives of the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council. Now that everyone's here, let's talk. But no one spoke up. Helpless, Li Qingyue had to speak again. Speak up, General Zod. What do you want, and what do you all want? Let's discuss it properly. After all, I think you all saw what they were fighting just now. It's no exaggeration to say that the aftershocks of their battle were enough to destroy an entire city. If we don't talk properly now, I'll just throw caution to the wind and stop caring about you. Upon hearing this, an Asian man spoke first. On behalf of China, I demand that the Kryptonians leave Earth because their existence seriously threatens the safety of ordinary people, and we do not have any special means to restrain them. If I am not mistaken, they can adapt to the light of this red sun given time, so this means is not enough to restrain them, right? As expected of my motherland, though not the motherland of this world. You're right, the Kryptonians have the strongest physique I've ever seen. If they want to, they can ensure they have no weaknesses. Coupled with their super brains, if they want to, they can become top scholars in a field in a short time. Eliminating the influence of the red sun on them is a piece of cake. We cannot leave Earth. We have already checked the Milky Way. Only you have the yellow sun, and the yellow sun is very important to us. General Zod immediately retorted. Seeing this, the other 4 representatives also joined the discussion, but they were deadlocked on whether they could survive on Earth. Seeing their discussion getting more and more heated, even turning into a scene like buying vegetables at a market, Li Qingyue had to step in to stop them, fearing that General Zod would fly into a rage and take action. For this reason, he even had Constantine put a magical protective shield on the 6 of them. Alright, stop obsessing over whether they can live on Earth. You can actually cooperate and achieve a win-win situation. After all, Krypton's technology is extremely advanced. How advanced? They have already started a great colonial era, colonizing countless planets. And they didn't rely on their superhuman-like physical strength, but on their technology. Moreover, their initial combat power was the same as humans. The reason they were so powerful was entirely due to the armor they wore. Upon hearing Li Qingyue's words, the 5 immediately stared at General Zod with burning eyes. After all, with the support of Kryptonian technology, they could enter the interstellar age and even start a great colonial era like Krypton. General Zod, you're the same. Stop thinking about recreating Krypton's glory. As long as you continue to develop according to your old tricks, Krypton will eventually become the same as before. I've already said that your development has become abnormal. General Zod lowered his head in thought, but the next second he experienced the same thing as Fiora, his body trembling uncontrollably. Li Qingyue had no choice but to grab him and throw him away from the house. As the sunlight shone down, General Zod felt better. At this moment, Fiora came over, knelt down to help General Zod up, and whispered, "General, perhaps Krypton really is a mistake." "Fiora, do you know what you're saying?" General Zod roared. Fiora didn't speak, but instead held General Zod's hand tightly. General Zod tried to pull away, but he couldn't. Fiora's hand was like an iron clamp firmly holding his hand. General, did you see that? Although I haven't reached Carl's level after the genetic restrictions were lifted, I've become even stronger. Only Kryptonians without restrictions are the most powerful Kryptonians. General Zod closed his eyes. At this moment he was truly shaken. His genetic collapse accelerated even further. As the collapse reached its final point, General Zod's body shuddered. He seemed to have entered another world. Here, Krypton had not exploded due to resource depletion. Instead, it was full of greenery and appeared to be a planet teeming with life. Not only that, he also saw countless Kryptonians defending against alien attacks in space, their powerful strength deterring anyone in the universe from attacking Krypton. Wasn't this what General Zod wanted to achieve? When he returned to the real world, he stood up, felt the sunlight, and said, "Fiora, you were right. Krypton went down the wrong path. I know what to do now." General Zod then entered the room again, and the representatives from various countries who were engaged in heated discussion immediately stopped. "I can hand over Kryptonian technology, but I have only two requirements. First, I require that the Kryptonians fully integrate into your human lives. Second, you must not use any means to inquire about our identities. It is our freedom to choose which country to live in. Can you meet these two requirements?" General Zod looked calmly at the five of them. The tyranny in his eyes had vanished. Now he looked like an ordinary middle-aged man. "We need to discuss this," the Chinese representative said. "No problem. If you can't make the decision, you can contact someone in your country who can." The five people then successfully contacted high-level officials in various countries, who in turn convened meetings immediately. Outside the conference room, all the Kryptonians, with Fiora's help, broke free from the rules written into their genes. Now, the Kryptonians are free, truly free. After the five major powers finished their discussions, they decided to agree to General Zod's request. After all, they couldn't refuse. The benefits were simply too great. Even if General Zod continued to invade Earth, they didn't care. With Kryptonian technology, they could colonize whichever planet they wanted. As for Earth, they would give it to them. After all, they didn't necessarily need the yellow sun. Any sun would do, and so they signed a contract. After General Zod handed over a portion of Kryptonian technology, he also received some gold, enough for them to live a carefree life. "So, which country would you like to go to?" General Zod did not speak, but instead let all his men in. To the surprise of those present, they all chose China. They believed that China's history could enhance their cultural literacy and help them better integrate into human life. And just like that, an alien invasion that could have threatened Earth's safety was averted, and it ended in a happy ending for everyone.